Yeah. Want to get started?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you.
Hi, can everyone hear me? Oh,
Oh.
Hello. Hi, everyone. I'm Alex Braslavsky, and I'm very much looking forward to introducing our esteemed guests for this evening, two wonderful poets. And unfortunately, Sarah Kearney won't be able to make it tonight. It's been a bit of a difficult time, and we wish Sarah all of the care, and we send a lot of care her way. So yes, to start, well, I'm very excited that Darius Atefat-Peckham here in the front row is going to be reading tonight. We were in workshop together, and there were a lot of poems about his BB, his grandmother, and you'll find these poems to be saturated with family, and to be very moving, and to be embracing of love, and among other things, and among many other things. I'm very much looking forward to reading this collection. It came out on the 25th of October, so very, very recently. Congratulations, Darius. And I believe this came out of this work that Darius did with Tracy K. Smith, and received the Hoops Prize for as well. So just really big congratulations, Darius. And now Darius is at the Michener School for Writers in Austin, Texas, with Tawana Malolo as a roommate. So you guys are just having a wonderful time, I hope. Imagine. So yeah, just honestly the perfect situation, I think. I dearly missed you guys, so I'm so happy to see your face. And so Raisa Tolchinsky is also an extremely wonderful poet. I've heard so many good things about Glass Jaw when she came out this year, 2024. And namely, all of the poets have been talking about the fact that this book is about boxing, among other things, which is amazing. And I will read sort of it. Raisa was also the George Bennett writer in residence at Phillips Exeter Academy in New Hampshire in 2022 and 2023, and graduated from the Harvard Divinity School, which is really known for its poetry, aplomb, and prowess. And is now teaching there. So that's a really, really wonderful thing. And we congratulate both these poets, and we welcome them to share their beauteous work with us. Yeah.
Thanks, Alex. Hopefully I'm not too loud. Okay. Thank you, James, for having me. I've read it Grolier a couple times before. It's like my favorite bookstore ever. It's all poems, which is great. Like, we don't need any other genres, really. All the poets write the other genres best anyway. So I say crazy things up here as well, because I kind of black out and then just joke around. But my poems are really serious. Just kidding. No, I think one thing that my book is trying to do, it's called Book of Kin, which is a play on Book of Kings, which is the national epic of Iran. And it's really trying to put the focus on family, personal relationships, with the people we love. Yeah, I've been a little like down about what's going on the last few days in the country. And I wanted to start off with a poem by Rumi that's been giving me some comfort lately. And it's translated by Haleliza Gafori. Say sun and moon go down in hell's flames. What light will you shine? What fire will you light before we can't see, before we can't hear? Say misers rule, generosity fades from memory. Still, your eyes see, your heart is full. What wage will you pay? What clothes will you offer the stripped and bare? Say scorpions, thorns, and snakes overrun the world. Even so, you're brimming with joy. Where is your garden? Take us to the flowers. Yeah, my flowers are my family and my friends, a lot of whom are here, and it's really great to be here. I'm gonna read from my book, and I'm kind of winging it. I haven't like chosen which poems I'm gonna read yet, so once I hit 15 minutes, I'll just stop. And I put a lot of thought into this. But the first poem I think I'm gonna read is called Death Report. 1. The first visitation is a dream. I lift my eye to her like my living is a prison. I tell the time by how hot my tongue became. Her face, a hazy glimpse of moon, far, far. Her gaze rushes through the bars. 2. My father calls the voice droning above, death report. My eyes stay cold, tucked in their beds, their names pronounced no matter what I do. The eyes of my American parents bore into their American son. They aren't kind to our citizens there. Myself unfurls, steady for the bell. All this practice, and still my mouth stumbles like a man carrying his son from the car. What if it were my name in the death report? Would I still my mouth, lie cold in my cell? Would the need to linger die with me away? 3. Once, on our way home from a funeral, I played dead in the car. I wanted my father's breath to catch. I wanted to be still and have him hold me. He rolled his eyes. Seriously, his breath smooth and current, my head against his chest. Sleep is not death, mother. Forgive me, my perennial living. I doze off whole. Let someone carry me the rest of the way home. My mother and brother died in a car accident when I was little, and so I grew up for much of my childhood with just my dad. So there are a lot of poems about that in the book. And yeah, it's the book actually starts with him. And the first one of the first images in the book is him like driving the car with his knees, like eating a breakfast burrito. And it's like a little terrifying. But I love my dad so much. He's like my best friend. And he's also a poet. So he's got some great poems out there. And taught me or made me think it was cool to be a poet. So that's what I wanted to do. Like that was my dream growing up. I think I will read this poem. I haven't gotten to read this one out loud. I'm trying to read poems that I haven't read out loud yet because the book just came out. So see how that goes. If I want to go there, I have to watch what I say. Today, jogging, I tell my father, ask me anything and I'll give it back. He watches his step, says look out for snakes after rain. Some people here carry knives to sever them at the head. I give the word for snake instead of knife or rain. Maud, I say in Farsi like a cat. The royal librarian of Golistan Palace is imprisoned for stealing manuscripts. He is guilty, is ailing, is dying soon after he is freed. Cartloads of first editions wheel back through the city. My father again names the wrong flower that opens with the rain. Laughing, he remembers their politeness, Taruf, so intense they could hardly get out the door, the house, repeating, you go first, no, you, as if they'd forgotten how to begin. He begins informal, impolite. Really, you should be able to go to Iran. Really, you should have no trouble at all. Awaiting a sentence, a sculptor stands up high in a tiny apartment, teeth yellowing as he smiles. If I want to go there, I must learn to speak on my own behalf. Zandan, I say, prisoner. I move my lips carefully around the sounds to get them right, a quiet breaststroke. Zendagon, the living, leafing through dictionaries. In Farsi, I fear naming incorrectly or not at all. Once, my father smiles in a plane on her way home. My mother deleted an entire poem. Maybe it's trouble that I want. I want to wear a beard, to rush through a park, a square, an absence of statues, with papers so essential they're clutched to my hand. Maybe by writing this, I'm losing all hope. Khalanina screams out in the garden, in a Tehran hospital. The red crescents of her eyes look up, finally, to greet me. Here's the thing. My father, striding, lays it out like a daily ration. He is unreasonable, irrational. What's the word for this? I tell him I want to be covered, clothed in the darkness of night, reach out to drooping branches and plumb their greening, treat my gardens like libraries, pick flowers with no intentions of bringing them back. In practice Persian, I get my father's phrases half right. I detain myself in everything I name beautiful and say nothing. A copper snake appears on the path like a heat wave ahead of us. Its mouth opens, watching to make sure we pass. My father's breath quickens. He mutters, "Pick up the pace." My heart racing. I want to stop and stare. I want to reach out my hand. I don't want any of this at all. Hurry, he says. Befad Maid, welcome. Here you are. Please, no, you. That was that poem took place during the pandemic. My dad and I would go on these long runs, and like we were still like didn't know about COVID so much, so we would like take like 100 yards like around every single person that we encountered. But at one point we were going across a bridge and there was a snake, and it was like we were so scared. But yeah, and I would talk to him. I was learning Persian at the time, and I would talk to him about the words I was learning. Okay, I'm gonna read. Let's read. I'm still learning my own book. The Scene Unseen. This was on a trip to Ireland after I graduated. My parents and I, we're not like super wealthy or anything. My parents are professors, but we were like, we're gonna rent a castle for one night and stay in the castle. And my mom kept saying, "We're staying in a castle," and it was actually really creepy. I was like in the top floor, and the window kept like, yeah, there were like these crazy drafts, and so they would come through the window, and then the window would come off its hinges and fall into the ground, and it kept waking me up. But I slept great. Um, it's called The Scene Unseen. Tilbury Castle, Kilkenny, Ireland. Someone is always wishing to be in or out of these thin places. I've awoken 3 times in this gloaming to a window blown off its hinges, 3 new spider bites marching across my stepmom's chest this morning. Dad sings to check the acoustics. We booked this place because we only have one life, but now I'm skeptical. Am I afraid? The cows calling questions across one field to the next, the absence of birds who made their nest a mile high in the stone masonry of my window are a far cry from the hauntings I'm used to. In the lack of mirror in my bathroom, I'm learning to self-soothe. How did moving forward get to be through such abundance? So that my feet, slowed by the cold thrill of a fog-cloaked ocean, Dad's hands reaching for my shoulders, many shoulders, stubborn, insatiable, alive, Rachy snapping us into stillness. What is a haunting? Anyway, I feel I could sleep here for ages. I gave away the whole poem. I also like to laugh at my own jokes, or laugh at myself. Let's see. I'll read this. Oh man, there are poems I want to read, but sometimes I'm like, no. I have like a visceral reaction. I'll move to one, and I'll be like, no, I can't deal with that right now. Okay. This one is called Here's a Love Poem to the Garden Snail. And I wrote it in my workshop with Alex, which is kind of exciting that it's in this book. And it's probably the one poem that I like feel like I had like an epiphanic experience, right? Like I don't feel like I get that very often where I feel like I'm pretty like I believe that the writer really has kind of sway over where a poem goes and like can have agency in it. That's partly why my book is the way it is. It's like an arc towards hope. And I was really intentional about that. And that's how I survived when I was little and how I continue to survive is moving towards hope. But this one I really feel like I received when I was writing it. And it's a love poem to a garden snail, which makes sense to me. Okay. I can't remember anything from the moment I was born until the moment they died. So I write instead to the garden snail I once poked and prodded in its box. I could not have known or believed in its treacherous lovemaking, in the nodding of one thing to another, in the death of anything. This snail who, in a boy's leisurely blink, disappeared into the blackness of a tire's tread. It's as if I never really existed, left by the roadside, clutching myself to myself. Can a person be a person without memories? The car crashed. I awoke, asking for my mother. Nothing has changed. I live knowing they died. Tell me again how I survived it. I was the clever hero. No, I was the heavy-lidded driver. No, I was the black paved road. No, I was the sun. I closed my eyes and fell out of the world, knowing I'd fall back into it. I think I'm gonna do two more. This next poem is called The Turkish Coffee Lady. And I do this thing. I mean, I lost my mom when I was little. And I now, and I'm really close with my grandma, my baby, who Alex mentioned. And she does show up in a lot of these poems. I don't think I've read one with her yet. Maybe that's like I can't give her too much credit now, but she's like one of my best friends. But I do like I have this thing where like anytime I see a Middle Eastern woman like out, I'll be like, "You're my mom," which makes them really uncomfortable. But I do love them just instinctively. And yeah, this is to the Turkish Coffee Lady, and it's a ghazal. I've been writing in that form a lot lately. Um, I have this issue. I'm too many sons to too many mothers. I approached you at your shop, inherited from your Persian mother. When I was a boy, I blurred my vision, gave the dark-haired boys my story, mothers at the periphery. Everywhere they turn, mothers and not mothers. Forgive me, when I summoned you, you were already another shade of mother. I thought of Afghan mothers in train cars, singing one to another. I have disgraced my own mother's death time and again with mystery, blasphemy, Mother Earth and her offspring. I made sense of it. I speak to you like I'm still your son, you, my mother's. I offer a placemat, a chair, christen you Maudaram as you teach me to address myself. Darish, Darush, Darius. I shush your eyes, lead you in prayer. I feel galaxies. I wish upon my own mother, visit me just once. Meet me sitting there across the table so we can swirl our pinkies in the ground. Look at me, these eyes that fill the empty air, this face that opens easily like a flower, like a boy calling after a skinned knee in so many languages, mouth warm and worn with mother. My hand breaks a piece of halva. The Turkish coffee lady calls Daryush. I rise to set down my steaming cup. Smiling, I pay my Persian mother. Okay, and this will be the last poem, and it's an ekphrastic poem. It's based on the cover of my book, which is by Hamad Javad. He's a great Turkish or Persian. He's living in Turkey. Illustrator. He's awesome. He's on Instagram. He's like this is like one of many really cool things that he has made. And this is a poem I think of as very hopeful. Is trying to name myself, I think, or this astronaut who I think of as myself. Also, the press like made this really cute decision to put him here too. So he's like sitting on my bio. Yeah. Okay. Throat of Your Hour, After the Now by Hamed Javadzadeh. Deep sea diver, mystic astronaut pondering pestle of chin in your palm, stars plunking against the hollow of your helmet. You need a moat, you think to yourself. Cyclops eye, ghost king, your subjects numberless as the night's pulse. Place the mirror of your seeing to its yawning. Newborn reaper, gaze crawling up the throat of your hour. Holy geometer, wise soul, old boy, stay, you know the word for it, alive. Thank you.
That was absolutely stunning, and I can't wait to read your book. Yeah. Thank you all so much for being here. It actually is, there's no place else I'd rather be today. Thank you, James, and thank you to this magical place. I just moved back to Somerville, so it's really good to be back and be here. I'm going to read you poems from Glassjaw, which is about my time training as a boxer. And then I'm going to read you new poems, which I've never read out loud before, which is terrifying and joyful. So I'm going to start out a few poems. The first half of the book is all in, each poem is named after a different woman. It felt really important that there was this collective chorus of voices because the boxing gym is so, you're just coming into contact with all different people constantly. So this is Anna, bless the boxing ring. The crook and knot of hand, how I reached out and spun myself dreidel in red dust until I rose from and lifted into armor, dissipating coin, rusted nail. Bless this underworld of secret choir, singing punches, sideways limbs, the dawn I saved away every day for a year. Spin. My shoulders that have not left me. Yes, I can do hard things. Bless the hard things. My first punch that landed, the lights in my own eyes. So small when I twirled in flattened fields diseased by sky. Bless the choice to cross my own rope, 22 square feet of skin, stadium of blushing heart. Bless the iron in my body, enough to make a nail, the salt fact of me. My tongue, the strongest muscle I own, the flickering flame of my mouth that will not go out. This is Carmen. You're a woman until you spit twice in the bucket. Now the audience wants you to be a woman plus a floor of shattered plates, a broken window, a hidden belt that won't stop whipping itself into a swollen eye. The audience wants whiplash, wants a mouthpiece slick with blood, a few loose teeth, and applause loud enough to crack a beer bottle. Then they want silence. They want you crying in the corner like a still life, a vase, a bonnet, a little bird. This is Arya, snail mail. The promoter runs on Red Bull, smells like drugstore cologne. In his spare time, he makes collages out of $20 bills, shoots a BB gun at pigeons. Most notably, the promoter likes to smash things in his sleep, watches, dishware, glass figurines. After the fight, he drapes a wet hand across my shoulder and says, I know what you want. I say, I want a fence no one can cross. I want a snow globe that won't stop snowing. I want my palms pink and uncalloused as my inner ear. 2 weeks later, I get a package. It's filled with shards of glass. There's a note. If you use them to mark your problem spots, maybe you can be a ring girl. There's no return address, but I know who it's from. He always signs his checks with a single X just to see if they'll go through. This is Kira. Once I was a ring girl too. Saw blood spilling from mouths, saw left hook to the body, left hook to the head, head, body, and no matter the outcome, I held those cards high, cocked a hip still sore from training the night before. For so long, it was the only way they'd let me inside the ring. But that night, it was me with my head busted open in the ring girl's lap, blood slow trickle pooling in the sequins of her dress, and my God, her skin without bruises, phosphorescent. I held her hand as she drove me home, even my pinky finger crooked. In the ring, they called us different names, but we were both inside it until we weren't. Outside my house, she pressed her mouth to mine, still bleeding from the fight. And for a moment, with my title belt sparkling under all those street lights, I felt like I could love her like a person instead of a fighter in between rounds. The middle section of this book is called Purgatory, and the last section follows Dante's cantos. I was thinking about like the ring below the ring, and I had a best friend who was like, what is like the map of your book, if it was a shape or a structure? So it was really interesting to try to draw that. This is called Purgatory. We're trying to say we've watched our bodies without us in them, called ourselves orphan, toiling through the world. In the field, we played with pebbles like children and made bargains with a bold God. We thought if we built what haunted us a cage, we could touch it and survive. Purgatory. In a field, the coaches kneel before us in our baby pink pantsuits, and we bless their hands with roses. We carry thorns in our pockets from all the times we spit out mouthpieces soaked in spit, some man yelling what that mouth do while we hunched, drooling over the bucket. Oh, knot after knot after knot. They should have asked for forgiveness before they killed us with push-ups, sit-ups, goblin squats. Now birds hover around our bulked up shoulders. How holy we are with our hair undone. Spread your wings, flamingo, rosefinch, robin. Nest between our healed knuckles as the coaches write their prayers on hand wraps, unscrolling across our field of allium bloom. No one gave them permission to enter. X arrives first, offers film canisters of skunky ghost train, Bruce Banner caffeine pills. He rolls a joint, wants forgiveness from his father. Y appears on his motorized scooter, in love with a girl who left. I know about the nowhere he won't go back to, not even for Thanksgiving. Z is the hardest to bear. What hasn't he done? He's got the fastest hands. He wants forgiveness, and we don't blame him. He hands over a Tupperware of tuna fish sandwiches. Please, he says, we'll consider it. We sit at our long table and pour the wine. You can get the next one, we say, refilling their glasses. The coaches swallow every drop like they have nothing to fear. They think the hard work is done, but we'll make them watch the sun sink below the horizon, the only rope allowed, as the sky turns pink, pink, pink. Our favorite Pepto-Bismol ballerina, our favorite bubblegum that burns. And I'm just going to read one more from this book. This is from the second section, and it follows one voice of a boxer as she sort of descends. Canto 4, as it seemed to me from listening. My other self I left at the boxing gym's door. She kept walking, husk of a girl, and never looked back. She crossed the street, entered a bookstore, ordered a cup of tea, no caffeine. She was good, is what I mean, and never woke from slumber. No thunderclap across the cheek, no blood tang in the mouth. She slept on in the silence of that other life and curdled, red pen in hand. Her pages turned, her phone blinked with its fishing hook of blue. Mechanical maiden, is she aware of me as she continues on? She opened no door, but kept walking into what she knew, and I I walked inside. Do you have space and time for one or two more new poems? They're always the hardest to read, but tonight's a good night. Aorta. And this new manuscript is about the heart and labyrinth and abortion. So that's what I'm in the midst of now. Spoke of it, but did so in slanted language. Is unwell, said the note from the doctor, a last-minute scrawl, a procedure, a loss in the family, a large life event. Needed to lean against the medical, the words I stumbled over. Failure rates in ectopic zygotes. My classroom of students had no idea. I passed out candy canes left from Christmas. We marveled how they were shaped like question marks. What is your question, I asked them, most on your mind? How can your question be a vessel? Can it carry you? I wrote, I could not carry you. Was not the vessel that could not. Sometimes we need help, I told my students. We need a structure to lean against. A structure delivers us the center, the oxygen, the rich zone of no return. Blood and guts of the poem funneled straight to your body. My students were quiet. They listened to me rant, ate the candy I passed out. I wanted to hug them all. It's more than I can bear, I wanted to say, one foot in front of the other, and a long winter passing into afternoons of light and wind. The crocus bulbs gave just an inch of green, but I knew I hadn't killed anything, and all of my questions grew in diameter. At its widest point, or most narrow, all my language measured the same thing. A few days off, out for a few days, medical leave, taking leave of absence. And then I'll just read this last one. Thank you so much for being here. Right ventricle. It is summer now, all these gaps in the trees, all the children roll down the dried up hillside. One way I remember, I hold Dee's hand, that slippage between us. I believe in the edge of what watches, fetches, in the percentage of you there, playing in the light with the 4 tow-headed children, little princes all screeching. They are carried back to their chambers by au pairs. You have no chamber, no au pair. And of all the things you wanted, did you want? Perhaps you wanted the days, the shining heart of a small Midwestern town I keep leaving, coming back to. How the nurse comforted me by saying there. I wanted to say here, I am here. Is there a major, a minor key? Is there a difference between the types of distance, the heart's plot line of a life developing? Without shape and light, I found that divinity was still an impossible displacement, a plan fully alive, a summer's portrait, light gray lake and the mature trees. I am an adult, I whispered so often to myself, a girl who governs herself into a storage room of burning, fleeing, fetus, Latin for little one. Call me Little Miss Surprise, Miss Perfectly Willed Goody Two-Shoes now will have a hole in her memory, hole in the heart, in the left quadrant of the magnolia tree. She'll see you, child, streaked darkness. What is the choice? Memory's atrium is a room which aches. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you all for joining us this evening. Let's give the poets another round of applause. We have some books for sale. Poets will be signing books. If everyone could please put your chair up against one of these 3 walls, I'd be very grateful. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that introduction.
And you're